What happens when a beloved television host comes face to face with royal entitlement gone completely wrong? In just 19 seconds, one shocking comment would destroy Prince Harry's reputation and get him thrown off live television in the most dramatic way possible. Last night, viewers witnessed something absolutely extraordinary on Loose Women. Ruth Langsford, the queen of daytime television, did something that nobody saw coming. She kicked a member of the royal family off her show. And trust me, you need to hear exactly how this went down. The atmosphere in the studio was electric from the moment Prince Harry walked onto that stage. You could feel the tension building. Ruth had her game face on, that professional smile we all know and love. But something was different. There was fire in her eyes. Prince Harry strutted in like he owned the place. His whole attitude screamed that he was doing them a favor just by showing up. The audience clapped politely, but even they seemed unsure about what they were about to witness. Ruth started things off the way she always does, warm and welcoming. Prince Harry, thank you so much for joining us today on Loose Women. We're absolutely delighted to have you here. Harry barely looked at her when he responded. His voice was flat, almost bored. Yeah, well, I suppose someone had to fill the slot. You could hear a pin drop in that studio. Ruth's smile faltered for just a split second, but she's a professional. She pushed forward. We wanted to talk to you about your recent charity work and some of the causes that are close to your heart. Harry leaned back in his chair like he was doing her the biggest favor in the world. Look, Ruth, is it? I'm here because my people said I had to be here, so let's just get through this, shall we? The other panelists exchanged glances. This was not going the way anyone expected. Ruth maintained her composure, but you could see her jaw tighten slightly. Of course, but our viewers are really interested in hearing about the work you're passionate about. Perhaps you could tell us about your foundation. Harry let out this dismissive laugh that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. My foundation? Right. Well, it's doing fine without me having to explain it to your audience. Ruth's eyes narrowed. She was starting to see exactly what kind of person she was dealing with. But she's Ruth Langsford. She's handled difficult guests before. I think our viewers would really appreciate hearing more about it directly from you. After all, that's why you're here. Actually, Harry said, his voice getting sharper, I'm here because I was told this would be quick and easy. I didn't realize I'd have to deal with someone who doesn't know how to conduct a proper interview. The studio went dead silent. You could feel the shock ripple through the audience. Ruth's co-host looked stunned. But Ruth? Ruth kept her cool like the absolute professional she-island. I'm sorry you feel that way, Prince Harry. We pride ourselves on having meaningful conversations with our guests. Harry rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes. On live television. Meaningful? This is daytime television. Let's not pretend this is anything more than mindless chatter for bored housewives. The audience gasped. You could hear people shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Ruth's co-hosts looked like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. But Ruth just sat there, taking it all in. Our viewers are intelligent people who care about important issues, Ruth said, her voice steady but with an edge creeping in. Please, Harry scoffed. Half of them probably can't even spell charitable. This whole show is just gossip dressed up as news. That's when something changed in Ruth's expression. The professional mask slipped just enough to show the steel underneath. She'd had enough. I think you might be surprised by how intelligent and engaged our audience actually is, Ruth said, her voice getting firmer. Harry waved his hand dismissively. I doubt that very much. But look, let's just get through this charade so I can get back to doing actual important work. The tension in that studio was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ruth's co-hosts were looking at her, waiting to see what she would do. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. Ruth leaned forward slightly. Prince Harry, I think there might be some confusion here. This isn't a charade. This is a respected television program with millions of viewers who tune in because they value what we do here. Respected? Harry laughed again, that same dismissive sound that was grating on everyone's nerves. By whom? Other daytime television hosts. Ruth's voice stayed calm, but there was steel in it now. By people who understand that treating others with basic courtesy and respect matters, regardless of the setting. Harry's expression hardened. Don't lecture me about respect. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? And there it was. The moment everyone in that studio knew this was about to go completely off the rails, Ruth just looked at him for a long moment, and you could see her making a decision. I'm talking to someone who seems to have forgotten that respect is something you earn, not something you're entitled to because of an accident of birth. The audience actually gasped out loud. Harry's face went red. His whole body language shifted, and suddenly he wasn't just dismissive anymore. He was angry. Excuse me, he said, his voice getting louder. Did you just suggest that I don't deserve respect? Ruth didn't back down. Not 1 inch. I'm suggesting that the way you're behaving right now doesn't deserve respect from anyone in this room. Harry stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is unbelievable. Do you people have any idea what I've sacrificed? What I've given up? We all have challenges in our lives, Ruth replied evenly, but that doesn't give anyone the right to be rude to people who are just trying to do their job. My job? Harry's voice was getting higher now, more agitated. My job is dealing with real problems, real issues, not sitting here answering stupid questions from people who wouldn't understand real sacrifice if it hit them in the face. Ruth stood up too, matching his energy but keeping her dignity intact. Our job is informing and entertaining people who work hard and deserve better than being talked down to by someone who clearly thinks he's above them. Harry pointed at her, his finger shaking with anger. You have no right to speak to me that way. None of you do. Actually, Ruth said, her voice getting stronger, I have every right. This is my show. The way she said, my show, sent chills through that studio. Every person there knew they were witnessing something unprecedented. Ruth Langsford was taking a stand, and she wasn't backing down for anyone. Harry's face turned an even deeper shade of red when Ruth declared ownership of her show. You could see the moment it hit him that he wasn't in control here. Not even close. Your show? He sneered, but there was uncertainty creeping into his voice now. This pathetic little daytime program? You think that makes you important? Ruth's response was ice cold and delivered with perfect timing. Important enough that you're here begging for airtime. The studio erupted. The audience couldn't help themselves anymore. Some people actually started clapping. Harry looked around wildly, suddenly realizing that the room was not on his side. I'm not begging for anything, he snapped, his composure completely gone now. I was asked to be here as a favor. Then perhaps, Ruth said, her voice cutting through his protests like a blade, you should start acting like someone who understands what a favor actually means. Harry's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. He clearly wasn't used to being challenged like this. His whole life, people had probably just nodded and agreed with whatever he said. This is ridiculous, he finally managed. I don't have to sit here and be insulted by some nobody television host. That was it. That was the moment Ruth decided she'd had enough. You could see it in her eyes. The exact second she made the decision that would shock the entire country. You know what, Prince Harry? Ruth said, standing up even straighter. You're absolutely right. You don't have to sit here. Harry looked confused for a second, like maybe he'd won. Finally, someone with some sense. Ruth smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to deliver a knockout punch. You don't have to sit here because I want you to leave. The silence that followed was deafening. Harry blinked several times, clearly not processing what he'd just heard. I'm sorry, what did you just say? I said I want you to leave my show, right now. Harry laughed, but it sounded forced and hollow. You can't be serious. You can't just kick me off. Ruth crossed her arms and looked him dead in the eye. Watch me. The camera operators didn't know where to point their cameras. The audience was completely silent, mouths hanging open. This was television history happening right in front of their eyes. This is insane, Harry said, his voice getting higher and more panicked. You can't do this to me. Do you know what kind of trouble you're going to be in? The only trouble I see, Ruth replied calmly, is a guest who has been nothing but rude and disrespectful from the moment he walked onto this stage. Harry started pacing, his hands gesturing wildly. Rude? I was being honest. Someone needs to tell you people how meaningless this all island. Ruth's co-host finally spoke up, her voice shaking with emotion. Meaningless? We've been doing this show for years, helping people, sharing important stories. Important? Harry whirled around to face her. What's important about celebrity gossip and makeup tips? Ruth stepped forward, putting herself between Harry and her colleague. What's important is treating people with basic human decency, something you seem incapable of doing. Don't you dare lecture me about decency, Harry shot back. I've done more good in this world than all of you combined. Then act like it, Ruth said simply. Those 4 words hit harder than any long speech could have. Harry stood there, mouth open, clearly scrambling for a response that wouldn't come. Security, Ruth called out, her voice carrying across the entire studio. Please escort our guest out. Harry's eyes went wide. Security? Are you insane? You're calling security on me? 2 large security guards appeared at the edge of the stage. They didn't move toward Harry yet, but their presence was unmistakable. I'm calling security because you've made it clear you have no intention of behaving appropriately as a guest on this program. Harry looked around desperately, as if someone in the audience might come to his rescue. but every face he saw was either shocked, disapproving, or actively hostile. "This is a mistake," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "A huge mistake. You have no idea what you're doing." Ruth's voice remained perfectly steady. "I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm protecting my show, my colleagues, and my audience from someone who thinks his title gives him the right to treat people poorly." "My title?" Harry's voice was almost a shriek now. "My title means something. This show means nothing." The security guards took a step forward. Harry saw them moving, and his whole demeanor changed. Suddenly, he wasn't the arrogant prince anymore. He was just a man who realized he'd pushed too far. Wait, he said, holding up his hands. "Let's just calm down here. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot." Ruth shook her head slowly. "There's no coming back from this, Prince Harry. You've shown everyone in this room exactly who you are." "I made a mistake," Harry said, and for the first time he actually sounded sincere. "People make mistakes." "Yes, they do," Ruth agreed. "And sometimes those mistakes have consequences." The security guards were right behind Harry now. He could feel them there, waiting for Ruth's word. "Please," Harry said, and his voice was barely a whisper. "Don't do this. Think about what this will look like." Ruth looked at him for a long moment, and you could see her considering it. For just a second, it seemed like maybe she might give him another chance. Then she spoke, and her words rang out clear and strong across that silent studio. "Gentlemen, please show Prince Harry to the exit." Harry's face crumpled. All the fight went out of him in that instant. He looked around one more time, seeing nothing but disappointed faces staring back at him. "This isn't over," he mumbled. But even he didn't sound like he believed it. The security guards gently but firmly guided him toward the wings. Harry didn't resist. He just walked, his head down, looking smaller with every step. As he reached the edge of the stage, Ruth called out one final time, "Prince Harry!" He turned back, hope flickering in his eyes. "Next time you're a guest on someone's show, remember that they're doing you the favor, not the other way around." And with that, Prince Harry disappeared from view, escorted out of the studio and off live television in the most humiliating way possible. Ruth turned back to the camera, composed herself, and smiled that warm, professional smile that millions of viewers know and love. "Well," she said, straightening her jacket, "I think it's time for a commercial break." The audience erupted in applause that seemed to go on forever. Ruth Langsford had just done something that no one thought possible. She had stood up to entitled behavior, protected her show's integrity, and reminded everyone watching that respect is earned, not given. When they came back from that commercial break, Ruth addressed what had just happened with the grace and dignity that made her a television legend. "Sometimes," she said, looking directly into the camera, "we have to make difficult decisions to maintain the standards we believe in. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Ruth Langsford became a national hero in the span of 19 seconds.